Hey, this is Ed Robertson, and this is the Mountain and Prairie Podcast, where I introduce you to some of the innovative individuals who are shaping the future of the American West. I meet most of these people through my work in land conservation or through my hobbies and interests that revolve around spending time up high in the mountains. My guests include ranchers, writers, entrepreneurs, conservationists, athletes, artists, adventurers, pretty much anyone who's doing important work, has an interesting story, and loves the American West. My guest today is Kyle Richardson. Kyle is a Colorado-based professional runner and mountain athlete who's best known for his high-stakes, high-speed endurance feats in the Rocky Mountains. Over the past 2 years, Kyle has set several fastest-known time records in the Colorado Mountains, most notably on Boulder's first and third Flatirons, as well as the renowned LA Freeway route that stretches from Long's Peak down to Arapahoe Peak. Away from his endurance feats, Kyle is a formally trained musician, and he composes original music for filmmakers and outdoor brands such as Black Diamond and La Sportiva. Born and raised in Austin, Texas, Kyle's youth was defined by time in the outdoors with his family and a deep commitment to music and playing the drums. His love of the West's wide-open spaces led him to college at University of Colorado at Boulder, where he began to realize his talent for endurance and moving quickly through the mountains. After several years of running and climbing throughout Colorado, he captured the attention of the endurance community with his record-setting time on the LA Freeway, a difficult and exposed route that combines running, scrambling, and rock climbing. Since then, he's earned sponsorships from major outdoor brands that have allowed him to pursue his adventures in the mountains with full focus and intensity. I met up with Kyle in Boulder, where we had a wide-ranging conversation about his passion for mountains and music. We started by discussing his athletic career and some of the details around his fastest-known times on well-known mountain routes. We also talked about his love of the process of training, both in athletics and music, and how his commitment to preparation gives him the confidence to pursue challenging and sometimes dangerous goals. We talk about the common skills required to be great in both endurance sports and music, and Kyle talks about some of the mentors and heroes who have shaped his career. Kyle's a voracious reader, so we talk a lot about books, and Kyle reveals a very interesting personal tie to one of my favorite history books, Empire of the Summer Moon. Kyle is amazingly humble and thoughtful, and it was a real pleasure getting to know him. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. How do you describe your athletic pursuits? Because that's what I was thinking. You're a professional athlete, basically. Yeah. But how do you describe it? Because it doesn't fit into any one category.
No, I was going to say, if you just ask me like what I do, I'd probably just say a professional runner, but it's a little bit more nuanced than that. But I mean, it's mountain running is kind of what my specialty is in, and that's kind of like what I pursue the most. But I also do a lot of other things, so kind of just fall into the category of just a mountain athlete. I think as soon as you start to put parameters on that, you start to maybe close doors, or I don't know, it's just more of a broad thing. And I like to tell people that my body is a tool, and so you're not limited to just running. Like maybe you're using a bike, or maybe you're climbing, you're doing all these different things, and your body is sort of the tool to have new experiences in the mountains. So for most people, I just, mountain athlete, mountain runner is kind of what I tell people, but then a lot of people don't even know what that is. So it's like, then you just like kind of question after question, but primarily a runner, and like that's what people pay me to do, is run, not to go climbing or biking. But as soon as you start to add in these different elements, it opens the door for unique and new experiences outside. Yeah. So I don't know, I like to sort of explore in that realm of using your 2 feet to get around, but then also explore these different acts of movement and sort of kind of dig into that and see how that could enrich maybe an experience or just provide something new. Yeah. Because nowadays everyone's doing the same thing. It's easy to fall into like sort of the same category as other people and kind of not want to distinguish yourself, but try to bring something new to the table. And I think you could chase records and all this kind of stuff, but as soon as you maybe start to look at things differently and add in some new elements, maybe it's like biking or climbing or skiing, and you can sort of like, oh wow, like there's a lot of room to explore and create kind of new link ups, just sort of explore in new ways. Yeah. So
when I moved to Boulder in 2010, and I feel like that's kind of around the time when I was saying you were like in 5th grade or
Yeah,
6th
yeah.
grade. but
little
that was the time when I felt like ultra running was really kind of becoming a thing that was not just completely crazy. I mean, it's still crazy, but it was becoming more and more normal. I think some of that may have been when Born to Run was published, and that made it a little more mainstream.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was still, at that point, it seemed like the people who were doing it at a high level, getting paid to do it, they would sign up like the Leadville 100, and it was just kind of this sign up for a race, do well.
Yeah.
Whereas, and then over the course of these 10 years, a lot of these athletes have changed from just doing races to doing these fastest FKTs, fastest on time. And that's how you've very quickly made a name for yourself.
Totally.
Can you talk about that, the FKT?
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting, and that this probably has a lot to do with like some key mentors in my life. But I mean, the matter of the fact is that like racing hundreds and kind of going all in on the racing front, it beats the body up. Like you can't do that forever. And so I'm sort of thinking about this long term, and I kind of want to be able to play outside for my whole life. And so if you start to kind of mix in some of these kind of FKT type things and races and sort of have more of a broader kind of perspective on moving outside, I think it's more sustainable. There's some brands and companies that kind of force you to race, like we need your race schedule, and like we're going to help support you, and these are what you need to do. And I've just never connected with that. I love to race and I love to compete, and I think competition brings out your best self, but I find the most joy in just like kind of going outside by myself on a long mountain ridge, and you're sort of taking things in, and you're having to problem solve and do all that. And so I've always connected with that kind of idea. So that lends itself more to the kind of the FKT style.
And explain what that is. Explain what FKT is.
Like fastest known times is what FKT means. And Peter Backwin, who's kind of a Boulder legend and ultra running legend, he still does, but he's kind of been cataloging these fastest known times online. So you have big through hikes like the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, the Arizona Trail, all these big trails. That's kind of where things started, and finding these different famous trails and keeping times on them. So similar to maybe people would keep times in races. Peter has been cataloging these times on these through hikes and different mountain objectives. And so I think that's kind of started to kind of appear into the scene as like people kind of maybe taking more of a competitive look at these things, or sort of breaking away from racing and seeing the joys of maybe a long trail or like a kind of an FKT could bring to the table. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just all comes down to personal preference, I think, if this is something that you want to pursue. And there's a lot of like nuts and bolts to unpack in FKTs, and I'm curious to see where it will go in the future, just because it is kind of becoming more of a mainstream thing. So yeah, it's just another way to kind of push yourself outside. It gives you, objective. You can go on the website and look up like what the rim to rim record is, and you'd be like, oh, maybe I could go faster than that. Or maybe you don't even want to go fast, but it has, kind of the stats and a map, and you can find like information on these like kind of trails and stuff that maybe you couldn't find in the past online. So it's sort of a good source to just go explore things around where you live or like around the world, and maybe set yourself some objectives or something to go do. So
there's long ones like the Appalachian Trail, which is 40 some days, something like that. And then there's short ones, but in my opinion, even more crazy impressive, like the ones that you hold on the Flatirons.
Yeah.
And so where do you start with that? Like where do you hit the go on your watch for when you're going up the third?
For the recent Flatiron stuff, or kind of all of the stuff, there's a pretty big history with it, but all of it normally starts at the Ranger Hut
at the Ranger Hut
at Chautauqua. There's some more obscure stuff in the Flatirons that start at different spots, but that's kind of like, that's the spot, like the trash can,
So you take off from there, run up to the base of the third. We'll just talk about the third first. Mm-hmm. Third Flatiron. Uh-huh. What's that, like 1,200 feet of rock? 1,000 feet of rock?
Yeah, the third is, I think it's more like 800, but it's probably like a 1,200 foot climb to the base. And
then you're going on class 5 terrain. What is it, like 5.4, 5.5, 5.6?
Yeah, it's like, I kind of like to say that the standard Flatiron grade's like 5.4. And you get easier sections and you get like little steeper bits.
No ropes.
No ropes.
And the thing is, I'd rather fall off a straight up cliff than fall off that thing because you're going to bounce down it.
Yeah. No,
and so
for sure.
you climb up that, which is dangerous.
No, for sure.
And then rappel off the back and run down. And you did that in just over 30 minutes.
Yeah, half an hour. Yeah. So,
that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So talk about the process of that. When did you know, all right, I think I could give this a run?
Yeah, I think it wasn't really till this year, like, that I felt I was fit enough to do it. But I've been scrambling in the Flatirons for 5 years now, and I tell people it all comes back to sort of this idea of practice. If you don't practice enough, you'll never really get into that space where you think it's maybe possible. So I just kind of felt good that day and was like, oh, we'll see. And it was kind of in an informal kind of time trial. There were some other people at the same time that kind of gives you a little boost, like, oh, I don't want that guy to catch me. Yeah. And so it's kind of like a race, but more like a little informal time trial. And yeah, it's hard to say like, oh, I felt good on Wednesday, October 12th or something.
Sure.
It's kind of just your body feels good that day, but mentally and physically I was prepared to do that 2 years ago or whatnot. It's not like the actual scrambling was something that I just was able to finally do, or it was more of a fitness thing. Like the scrambling, if you've done a bunch of stuff in the Flatirons, it's pretty, if you've done it before, it's pretty mellow, but obviously if you've never been up there, it's going to feel terrifying. But if you've done it a bunch, that's not really the barrier.
Sure.
It's more of like the actual cardio and the fitness and the footwork and kind of just like sprinting down the hill at the end.
That's what I would think.
That's that kind of thing. Now, that's when you're going to get it injured, is like running through the talus field when you're done scrambling, like when there's really not that high consequence.
Yeah, because that, I used to live here and coming down the first Flatiron. I mean, that is a mess, and it's a mess with rocks and that, but then there are people everywhere too.
People, like really tight switchbacks. You have other people that maybe are also going scrambling that you're kind of dodging on the way down. So there's dogs, there's the whole thing. Like, so it's kind of a full body kind of engaged sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like I'm at like my peak, is when it's that kind of crazy. I just enter this flow state and kind of like, oh, I'm not going to roll an ankle, because it's just like every rock is boom, 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 and you're just kind of on fire.
Sure.
Whereas if you're just kind of out for a casual run, your head's maybe in a different space, maybe you're a little stressed or something happened at work or something, and you're like, oh, I just rolled an ankle. Like, that's kind of when those things happen to me.
Yeah.
Or like I catch a toe and I fall. It's never when I'm like all in, like full gas kind of thing. I don't know. It's just going at your limit sort of helps bring you to that flow state.
Sure. So on that day when you set the record, you said that it was a time trial. Did you take off from the Ranger Cottage or the trash can at the same time as other people?
Yeah, it was at the same time as other people, but you can't really have more than a small group of people in OS&P doing the same thing at the same time. So you kind of start with other people, but quickly you're like by yourself.
Do you think that having those people with you helped you break the record? I mean, knowing that somebody was up behind you, just being competitive?
Totally, to some extent. And I definitely think just sort of like I was saying earlier, the competition kind of brings out your best self, and you're kind of there with your buddies, like, ooh, like what's about to happen, and you kind of just like sprint at the beginning, but then you're kind of in your own little zone from there. But it's more of it's cool to have a little community aspect before and after these kind of things, and I'm kind of talking lightly about it because it's not like it's kind of an underground thing. So, but there are people that are like-minded that also like to do the same things as me, and it's cool to have a little community.
Definitely.
But like I said, kind of once you start, you're in your own little bubble, and it is cool to have like these little mini challenges with maybe your buddy. Like, ooh, I like went 31, like you did 32. Like, you can kind of get. Even if you're not setting the records, like it's still fun to kind of go out and push yourself. And, there's people as young as me, and then, people in their 50s that are out there doing it, and even older than that. So it's cool to have like a spectrum of, not everyone's trying to set a record.
Sure.
And I'm not necessarily going into these things like with a record in mind. It's just like, oh, like maybe it will be like kind of an added benefit of being really in shape. Like it's kind of just the cherry on top with a record. Like that's definitely not what motivates me to go do the stuff is the records. I mean, it's just not sustainable. Kind of going back to the racing, it's like, ooh, I'm on the FKT website. Like, I think I could do this, and this. And it's like, that's no fun just to like kind of chase these records or whatnot. But it's cool to feel like you're in shape and kind of, ooh, like I was able to do that. That's cool. But that's not what brings me the joy to do it. I don't know. It's
I would think you wouldn't be able to get good enough at it if you didn't love the process.
Totally.
Just
no, it's
because
all the process.
It takes the amount of time that, I mean, I was listening to a podcast with you on the way down here, and it was, or up here, and I think you were saying you had done the third or maybe the first like 300 plus times before, and you just you could not be good. You could not get good enough without just being obsessed with it.
Yeah, for
daily.
Sure. Yeah.
And you go every day? I mean, do you take days off or?
I haven't. I mean, I occasionally take days off, or I'll take super easy days while I'll go on a little bike spin or a jog or whatnot. It's not like full gas the whole time, but going back to sort of what motivates me and kind of this idea of practice is definitely like the daily routine of sort of getting outside and moving.
So what is your routine like? I mean, do you go at this like every morning? Is there a certain time of day?
No, it's a little more loose than that.
Nice.
I'm like, some people are super rigid, and I mean, I definitely perform the best kind of waking up, cup of coffee, and then head out the door. Although contradicting that, all the records and stuff are set in the evening.
Really?
So it's a weird kind of, I mean, I feel like your legs are more awake in the evening because you've just had a full day to kind of get the blood moving. But for a routine, I'm definitely more of a morning person, like get up early, do some reading, and then head out the door. Other than that, it's like pretty loose. Like
nice.
It's like today, after we're done, I'll probably go for a run. But other than that, it just depends day to day. And in the winter and early spring, it's way more loose than it is in the summer. In the summer, it's like, okay, like this is the best time of the year. Like we're gonna go charge and kind of take all of the day to go do something. But this time, it's like it's kind of moody this morning, like kind of rainy. It's like, oh, like maybe another cup of coffee, nice. Like, read the book a little more, and it's just take it more casual. I think you can't be too rigid with this kind of stuff. You'll just burn out. Like I know so many people that have kind of like race focus, and I need to go do my intervals on the creek path, and it's, I don't know, I just don't connect with that. And that's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I don't know, I'm just a little more easygoing.
No, I think when you talk about wanting to do it for a long time, I mean, I would think that would burn you out after a while, just being so hyped up about it all the time. I mean, you're obviously hyped up about it, and you're obviously, I mean, the consequences are dire, so you take it very seriously, but that's kind of, I would think that might be enough. You know, you don't need to add extra layers of stress.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you're not from here originally. No. So talk about, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Austin, Texas. So in the hill country, which definitely shaped sort of my thoughts and views on moving outside. Have you been to Austin?
I have, yeah.
It's pretty big outdoor scene, obviously a lot bigger of a city than Boulder, but definitely some elements that I see similar, just good trails, good outdoor scene, Town Lake around Austin. I grew up running around there, and kind of just a good place to explore, like good state parks, go camping with the family early on in my life. And I love going back there, the live music, the food, like in terms of a city, like it's amazing.
And so was outdoors a huge part of your life with your family and all that? Yeah,
it was really big. We, grew up going skiing a couple times a year in the winter to New Mexico or Colorado. And then, in the summer, go camping, do something that had an outdoor element for sure. Mm-hmm. Like, we're going to go sailing, or we're going to go fishing, we're going to go camp. Like there would definitely be an element of getting outside and exploring into all of our vacations. Like that had to be there. Or like, no, I have a twin brother and a younger sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we'd always like, where should we go? Like, we have to be able to do something outside. Like that has to be like, where are we going to go? And there's so many cool spots in North America that we'd go visit and sort of see like the natural wonders. And that definitely shaped like how I look at things now. And I think, just having that exposure early on helped, impact my life in a way. I was like, I want to go live in Colorado. I want to go explore the mountains more. And I think it's cool to have, that base. And Austin was a great place to sort of help nurture that. And I remember just like going out into the woods, running. Like I always had taken to the trails over the roads because we had a nice little trail network behind where I lived. And Just running through the woods, exploring, or like building forts, just kind of doing kid stuff,
outside.
But just outside, like ride my bike to school, like just try to be outside as much as possible.
When did you realize that you had a talent for endurance? Were you competitive in that world as a kid, or was it
not really? No, it's like and this might be a surprise, but growing up, I was like really into music and still am, and so I started playing the drums in 5th grade, and I've pursued that all the way through college, and it's part of how I make a living now. Is being a musician and a composer. That's sort of like the other half of my life. Mm-hmm. But so I was super into that, and I was doing competitions, recitals, performing with bands, doing these other things that would sort of fill that kind of gap where maybe running would fill. And so running was purely a hobby for fun, type of thing. And it wasn't until I moved to CU and to go to school at CU, I'm trying to think, this is 2014, that I really like kind of went all in with running and endurance stuff, but also was studying music full time in school. So,
so that the music you started in 5th grade, you said, and then it seems like there's some similarities between the music and the endurance as far as like you have to put in the work. Totally. You have to enjoy the process. Yeah. You have to, and you're kind of seeking this flow state.
Totally.
I would guess.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think all your work in music has informed your athletic achievements?
I mean, to some extent, I definitely, like you said, see those similarities. And yeah, to be a successful musician, not that I'm like a huge successful musician, I feel like I'm always like struggling to just like make it or whatnot. Yeah. And it's the practice. Like you have to put in so much time to get good at it. And same with running. You don't just like, I mean, some people are naturally talented, but with endurance, like it's kind of something that you have to just go out there and do it. And so seeing that, or pulling from that, from middle school, high school, and college, where I just like spent so many hours in the practice room before and after school, just kind of grinding. Mm-hmm. I kind of pull that same sort of mentality and apply it to sort of running, and it's really similar. And kind of I draw a lot of creativity, inspiration from running in the mountains, and sort of apply that back to my music. And yeah, it's cool to see those kind of connect. And it's only within the last year or two that I've really started to try to combine them and kind of make a living off those things. But
so like what kind of stuff are you doing in music these days?
So music right now, I'm doing a bunch of like film scoring, and composing. So I've been working with different companies like Merrill and Protect Our Winners. I'm doing a thing right now, this film called First Ascents, which is about this lady that had cancer and she's super into the outdoors, and it's sort of her story. So I'm doing a 7-minute original score for that right now.
Nice.
So it kind of varies, but a lot of it ties into the outdoor world.
And so did you make some of those connections like at the companies that are now paying you to do that? Did those connections come through the running world?
Not really. It more came through friends in town, like Brendan, my roommate, just friends that are filmmakers in town.
Sure.
I would like obviously build a relationship with them through running, but then we'd hang out after and they'd be like, oh, like I kind of need a song for this film that I'm doing.
That's
and I'd be
cool.
like, oh, like I'm your man. Yeah. Like, I can do that. And so that's almost how all my work has come. I mean, some companies have reached out to me, but a lot of it's through filmmakers in town. And a lot of them will go to these online catalogs and sort of license music. And it doesn't necessarily maybe fit with the vibe or the tone of the film. Yeah. Whereas if you have someone that does an original composition or scores something for the film, you can really, I'm watching every second and be like, ooh, this fits really well here. And it ends up, I think, just enriching the film. So
definitely,
it's cool to work with people that I'm really good friends with. And they give me work. So
that's exciting, man. I mean, and that's, you think about potential and upside and like where it could go. I mean, there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, I feel like I've just started pursuing this in the last year, but already have made a lot of connections and sort of trying to get my name out there a little bit. And it's a cool balance with running. A lot of people that I talk to in Boulder, like everyone's a professional at something, or a professional athlete, and they have all their eggs in one basket. And I think it's cool to really go hard with this kind of running thing, but if let's say I was to get injured or something, like what am I going to do? Like how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to go about doing? are having a future. I mean, maybe you'll recover, you could have a terrible accident or whatnot, but it's cool to like be into these other hobbies or like other professions and sort of kind of use your brain to do other things too.
Oh yeah.
So I'll like go out for a run, come back, you know, make some lunch, and then sit down in my little studio there and make music. And I'm not just like focusing on like, ooh, like I ran 3 miles today and I got my training log, and it's like all kind of this little perfect world. And yeah, it's interesting to sort of spread yourself around a little bit more. And
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I would think that it's super cool to have two things that you're that passionate about, that you're willing to put in. Because like we keep saying, you wouldn't be able to do either of those things unless you were willing to put in the work. You know?
Oh, yeah,
and so you got two things that you get you excited to do.
Yeah.
And you're willing to do it every day. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a lot of uncharted territory for me right now moving forward, but I feel like I'm learning so much about more of the music industry and how that ties into the outdoor industry, and yeah, still trying to, you know, train and produce and stuff. So it's cool. I'm really excited and happy where things are going. So
who do you admire in the music world? Like, who are some of your heroes?
I mean, musically, I like wrote down some people so I didn't forget, but like drumming is my background, so it's like I studied a lot of Latin and jazz, and so recently I've been on a bit of an Art Blakey kick. Jeremiah Green, the drummer for Modest Mouse, Carter Beauford, Dave Matthews Band. I've always been inspired by his technicality.
Guy's got a lot of drums.
But if you kind of get past that, it's like his technical skills are insane.
Really?
Yeah, like he does crazy things that I could never do. So it's kind of people like that, and then I'm just a really big fan of music in general. Like I've been on a really big Wilco kick lately. Mm-hmm. I kind of listen to everything. People are like, "Oh, like what's your favorite genre?" And it's like I'm just kind of a fan of it all, and I love when people send me new music and like, "Oh, check out this band." It's cool to kind of just have a wide kind of variety of a palette in terms of music, and it's a lot of jazz influence and a little bit of hip hop, a little, you know. I'd say I'm not the biggest fan of country music, but my Texas roots, it definitely comes out a little bit when I hear something good. I'm like, ooh, that's nice. But yeah, kind of like a pretty diverse selection of stuff. And yeah. When
you were a kid, I mean, were you just like brimming with energy? Because when I hear drum, like first of all, when I think of little kids playing the drums, I think of like kids that have way too much energy, and and so between drums and then running like a crazy person. I mean, are you just brimming with energy?
I don't,
because you don't. I mean, you seem real chill.
Yeah, I think my parents would probably say the same thing. I don't know. I was definitely more of an introvert and totally fine, like just being by myself and kind of practicing or whatnot. I honestly didn't end up ever playing too much at home, just because a lot of it, I like studying percussion and playing the drums, like there's so many instruments and stuff. Yeah. Like you kind of had to go to school to practice, because I would play a lot of different instruments in the percussion family, and also studied the drum set primarily, but I would just spend a lot of time before and after at school, because in like the airtight little practice rooms by myself practicing, and then when I got home I would have all this other homework that I have to do, like what's with this math homework, and so I would like kind of do that and run or whatnot. So I don't think I was ever bouncing off the walls. I feel like I was always pretty like, oof, I need to go to sleep. But yeah, and it's having siblings too. It's like there's a balance there, and so yeah, I don't think my family or my parents really ever let us get too crazy. Yeah, kind of it just kind of would have been impossible. Like, so I definitely am still like pretty mellow, just kind of more chill.
So, all right, so you come to school out here, you're studying music, then you start going hard in the mountains. When did people start to take note of what you were doing? Like how far in?
Probably not till 4 years, like 2018.
So towards your senior year, like towards the end of your time?
When I did the LA Freeway.
Yeah, explain what that is.
So the LA Freeway was first envisioned by Buzz Burrell, it's linking Long's Peak to Arapahoe Peak, which is the LA. And basically when you're driving into Boulder on Highway 36, you look at all the peaks, the skyline that you can see. It's basically traversing that whole ridgeline, which makes up a little bit of Rocky Mountain National Park and pretty much all of the Indian peaks. So you start with Long's Peak, which is the tallest peak in this area. It's a 14,000 foot, 253 mountain. I think that's what it is. And traversing the ridgeline all the way to the Arapahoes. It's a pretty technical route, like scrambling up to 5-6, all above 12,000 feet. It's like a 50K with somewhere between 18,000 and 20,000 feet of gain. Wow. So then there's a lot of logistical kind of things that go in with that, but it's a really aesthetic route, and only a handful of people have done it.
And it normally takes people like 30 plus hours. Is that right?
Yeah, Buzz did it in 2 days. My good friend Matthias had the record in just under 17 hours, and I was able to best his time in 16 and a half. And wow. I think 1 or 2 other people have done it, so I think in the 30-hour range, but it's definitely still less than 10 people that have done it. Maybe even 5. Like 5 people have probably done it, I think.
And so did you practice all the sections before?
Totally. Yeah, I knew the whole thing.
Got it.
There's just a lot of tricky little exposed kind of scrambling that if you were trying to on-site the whole thing, like you're just not going to go fast.
Yeah, when you're tired too.
And if you're not looking to go fast, then you can go on-site it and have like a wonderful 2-day mission or something, and that's really rad. But in trying to go really fast, it helps to know the little intricacies and all the little nooks and crannies, because there's a lot of, you're kind of on the ridge line, but then there's all these little gendarmes and towers, and all, you kind of have to duck around and pick kind of the easiest way, but then sometimes the easiest way is still kind of challenging. And so knowing all of that, I think really helps you have a successful outing, and helps you stay safe.
So that was when people started paying attention, like, wait a minute, who is this guy?
Yeah, and I still feel like I haven't done anything. Like, it's not it's hard to put a finger on when this started to happen, because I don't know, it just kind of feels weird to talk about.
You're humble and you're nice dude.
It's just like, when can you type in your name on Google and you pop up? Or it's like, I don't even know. Like, I don't really care. But yeah, it's probably around then, just because not really many people have done it, and it's such a fantastic line that, in the next 5 years, I think it will really blow up and people will start to do it. I'm surprised more people haven't done it, or at least attempted it. It's world class. I haven't been all over a lot of the world, but it's, in terms of big aesthetic ridgeline, like, it's, I think, going to be one of the best in the coming years. Like, it's definitely, Buzz calls it a classic. He thinks it's one of the best in the world. He's a little biased to it, but I honestly, like, it's amazing.
Well, I think just in general, whether you're on the ridge or down in the Alpine Lakes, Indian Peaks is one of the coolest places anywhere.
So cool.
I love it up there. Yeah. So you've got a lot. You've managed to gather together some pretty cool mentors. Again, you're making me feel like such an old man. But we were talking before we started recording about Joe Grant, who was on this podcast like early on. Yeah. And he's just such a interesting, nice dude. Yeah. Take the running out. He's just a great guy. So, like, what have you learned from Joe or other mentors you've had? Yeah,
I would say Joe and I don't know if you know Anton, Tony.
I've met him. I don't know him.
He's those two guys have definitely been huge mentors for me, and it's funny because they're pretty different. Yeah. In their style, and kind of like, if you were to ask them their daily routine or kind of what they do, and it's, I don't know, I almost feel like I'm somewhere sort of in the middle. Like, Joe's like really, really mellow and relaxed, and it's like 4 cups of coffee and then head out the door, like go a little casual jog. And with Tony, it's definitely like, all right, let's get down to business, and let's we might go charging, or like, we're gonna get a lot done. This is gonna be a productive session. Not that Joe doesn't do that, but it's kind of how we're going about things, and it's cool to. I feel like when I go do stuff with them in the mountains, it's like a little bit different, and they're both amazing. Like, the activities that we end up doing are amazing in their own little ways, but kind of pulling from them in terms of their style and sort of their outlook on things has been pretty interesting. And even just like learning or going climbing or something, getting more to like the nitty gritty of like, oh, like this is actually a more safe way to do this, or like on this climbing route, like we should do this instead of maybe what you were doing because this is safer, or kind of, just more stuff like that, and sort of these lessons that they've learned because they've come at it from a very different like kind of side of things than I have. They got into racing. That's like how they've kind of made a name for themselves.
Well, those are the guys I would follow when I came out, when I initially moved to Boulder and got interested in that sport. And, when I think about when we were talking at the beginning about how this transformation from just doing races to just adventures in the mountains.
Totally.
I feel like they were the leaders in that.
No, for sure. They definitely they're kind of iconic. I mean, everyone knows who they are. I feel like I go hang out with them and they're getting stopped. People want photos. I go to Europe with Joe and everyone's just like, oh my God. Like they're just, and you can speak French. So he's just like in full conversation. I'm just like standing there looking like an idiot. Like what's going on? But yeah, and it's interesting. I still think in order right now to like really make it, if I wanted like the big bucks, like it's still through racing. If you really want to be like the Jim Walmsley type, or, you really want to make it hard in the scene, I think racing is still the best way to get your name out. But I don't know. I think I'm taking a bit more of a natural approach to it. I'll be racing more this year, but it's, those guys I feel like have started out with a bunch of racing and kind of done everything. Like all the big races they've done well at, like the UTMB, the Westerns, the Hard Rock, all that. Yep. And now like they're starting to find a lot of inspiration in these different things. Like Tony with some of his like kind of multi-sport link-ups, like getting in the bike, a lot of climbing, Joe with the 14ers, Nolan, these other things. Like, and I know that Tony has like the longest list of things that he still wants to do, and I'm pretty happy for him right now because he's healthy. He just ran 2 back-to-back 100-mile weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is huge. Super happy for him. So I'm curious to see, what those guys will do in the coming year. But yeah, they're definitely moving more away from, I don't know, Tony might be going back into the racing scene, but they've sort of just had a mixture of different things, which is cool to pull from that. I don't know having not met those guys, I wonder what like I'd be doing right now. Because with Joe, especially with my relationship with Black Diamond, like I owe a ton to him for sort of introducing me to the guys that work there and being able to partner with them. It's really thanks to him. And same with Tony with La Sportiva, like those guys have definitely held me along for sure. So I couldn't thank them enough. So that's cool.
That's the cool thing about the sport you're in is, everybody is, they're unbelievably super badass athletes, and they're, it's dangerous in a way.
Yeah.
And you got to be willing to push yourself. But at least everybody I've met has been unbelievably kind and nice, and they're interesting.
Totally.
It's not just this, there is a single-minded focus because you have to have it.
Yeah.
But like you, Joe, I don't know, I've met Tony a few times, but you're all voracious readers. You're all, it's just kind of this, it's almost like there's a thinking man's aspect to the sport that is that's really unique. I wonder why that is, because I guess because you're spending so much. Some of it could be you're spending so much time alone. You kind of probably need to enjoy being in your head a little bit.
For sure, and it's like there's more. It's like an art to it almost. Mm-hmm. I think if you come at, a lot of us are like very number driven. Like we want to track the miles and the vert or whatever. But like, I don't know, taking a kind of a thing from art and seeing the aesthetics and things and like. I don't know, it helps just kind of branch out and see things more than just kind of a singular focus. Yep. If you're looking at it just from a numbers thing, I think there's definitely like an art to that. And maybe it's not everyone has that eye. So maybe whether it's through reading and kind of being up to date with maybe what's going on in the world or just, I don't know, everything, having a more broad perspective, it helps you kind of maybe not be so singular focused on kind of like, oh, did I hit the mile mark or the vert that I wanted this week or something? I don't know. Yeah,
that makes sense. So we've talked about this a little bit, but there is a level of risk involved in what you do, and not just scrambling the Flatirons, but just being in the mountains.
Totally.
It can be dangerous. Everything from just being out there by yourself to lightning, that kind of thing. So how do you evaluate risk, or how do you make sure that you're not kind of underestimating risk? Because the better you get at this stuff, I would think the easier it is to think, oh, well, I'm only 20 miles away from a trailhead. That's not that big a deal. I can do that. So, I mean, how do you kind of keep yourself focused on the seriousness of what you're doing? Or do you even? I mean,
no, it's a good point, like knowing when you cross that line. And my scariest encounters in the mountains have always been with lightning. Like I've never had any close calls with like on technical terrain or like scrambling or anything like that. It's always been like I got caught in a storm up high, and those are just absolutely terrifying. I'm sure you know.
So when that happened, like when you think about that, did you start too late? Like what could you have done differently, or was it just a freak thing?
One of them, both of them are kind of freak. I guess the most recent one, I was with Joe, and we were in Europe, and we were doing this section of this long trail or connection of trails called the Via Valais. So we're in the Alps, and we got an early start at like 7, I think, and it was already like lightning up at the top of the pass in the morning. And so I've always, midday is kind of like, oh, I got to get out of there. But I mean, it was socked in from the start, and I don't know, I just didn't think, it looked like it might snow and not lightning, but we got up to the top of this pass, and it was just like going off, just everything was so staticky. There was all this metal up there, like it was just bolt after
buzzing?
bolt
Was
after
it buzzing?
bolt. Yeah, but just buzzing like crazy. And it was actually, to get down to the next village, it was like a little via ferrata down. It was like, it would have been a down climb of this via ferrata, and we had never seen it before. And we had rumors that maybe the ladders and stuff had like broken. I think they're still intact, but there was like a kind of a big bergschrund at the bottom, and so you kind of had to navigate these ladders and kind of through these really rotten bands of rock, and it's lightning, and we're like peering over the edge of this cliff, and we're like, I think the ladders are broken. Like, I don't think in hindsight I think it was totally fine, but in the moment we're like, we're gonna just like go straight off this cliff, like. And if it had been bluebird and sunny, I think it would have been completely fine.
Sure.
But in the moment, it was just complete chaos, and I'm like definitely freaking out more than Joe, and he's just kind of like, all right, it's gonna be okay. Like, we put on our like puffy pants, and like we have all our clothes on, and it's lightning, and then it's hailing, then it's going back to lightning. I don't know, it's just kind of those moments where they're unexpected. Like, you don't think that that's gonna happen. And if obviously I'd seen that weather and I was like gonna be doing something more technical, it was truly a hike to get up to this point, but I would never have been like, oh, let's like pull out the ropes and start climbing. Like, that would have never crossed my mind. But it was truly an unexpected thing, whereas like we kind of were getting up high enough where it's like, ooh, it's starting to lightning, we kind of need to get up and over. And like, obviously we probably should have just turned around at that point, but
lightning is no joke, man.
I've definitely learned from that experience, and it's like, there's one other time, but yeah, that's not, I mean, I'm sure you've had your fair share of like being.
I'd say my scariest time ever, and the most helpless I've ever felt, would be like when you start buzzing.
Yeah, oof.
Like, I was wearing, it was actually during a snowstorm of all things, but my whole harness, everything just started buzzing, and it was snowing. I mean, it was freezing cold, and I mean, and my ice axe was just zzz, and just helpless.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
I mean, it's kind of like, what are you going to do?
No, I mean, that's truly like you're in the hands of Mother Nature. Like, almost with scrambling in the flat, you can, like, should I pull on this little hold? Like, does it look good? Or like, you're kind of more in control when you're up there and you get caught. Like, yeah, you're helpless, like you said. You just head down as quick as possible. I don't know.
But I'll tell you in a weird way, maybe I'm crazy, but when you make it through something like that, that's kind of the appeal of the whole thing, because it shows you how weak you are. I mean, I think I like that. I like
you definitely learn from that. Those are the learning experiences.
Being shown that we're not in charge.
Yeah.
The ocean really does that to me.
Yeah.
We're not even close to in charge. We think we're real tough.
I've tried to do a little bit of surfing here and there, like gone to Costa Rica, and every time I've just get buried by the waves, and it's like,
come out bloody.
Yeah.
Where'd you go in Costa Rica?
We were on I think it's called Playa Yuncal. Okay. It's like West Coast, I think.
Yeah, nice.
I don't know. I can't remember the exact village or whatnot, but I was just like, I don't really want to hit into the coral, or like what's underneath. Like, is there a sandbar? I don't know. Like, it's just,
It's a different world.
You like
man.
see from the shore, like, oh, that looks like a little wave, and then you get out there and you're like, oh, this is real. Like,
it's the real deal.
Yeah,
man.
and like still on like the kind of the big long board, kind of that's a little maybe easier to stand up on, and then you see these little kids on their like kind of like more like kind of aero boards, and they're just ripping around. And you're like, wow, I suck at this.
Well, I tell you, it's very similar in my experience to your music and your endurance in that there's no way around it other than you just got to put in the time.
True.
It's just how good you can get. And I mean, I'll never be able to do any like tricks or anything, but if you're willing to put in the time, I guess that's kind of like the secret to life of everything. Just put in the damn time.
Yeah, people, that's crazy. I feel like a lot of people seek that answer, and they'll spend a lot of time not knowing what to do. And at the end of the day, that's kind of like, if you really want to do something, you kind of just have to practice.
Yeah, there's no, despite what Mr. Tim Ferriss says, there are very few real life hacks.
Yeah, it's like the 10,000 hour rule.
And that wouldn't be fun
like,
anyway.
Yeah.
If there were, that wouldn't be fun.
Like, let's cheat. Let's like kind of figure out a way to make this easier. It's like everyone has their own challenges and obstacles, and sometimes you just kind of have to sit down and grind it out. Like, you know, metaphorically, it's there's no real way around it, I don't think. And I'm like talking like I've lived for like maybe 40 more years, and maybe that's words that I've heard from other people, but I don't know. I try to embody that into what I do, is like really this foundation of practice.
No, I think I value hearing you say that, because one, you've got the results to prove it. You may be young, but you've done some pretty hardcore stuff, and then you hang out with people who've proven themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. I think that's a good source. Yeah. That's why I'm hanging out here with you.
Well, I'm having a good time. So.
So what do your parents think about all this? What do they think about your career path?
They're super supportive. I mean, they're amazing. I couldn't ask any, like, they truly have been there every step of the way. Like, yeah, I mean, obviously it probably frightens my mom a little bit when she sees like the photos of me just like kind of on the edge of a cliff or something. But I think she understands like my patience and foundation and belief and practice. I think she understands that I would never. I mean, freak things happen. I can't like say that nothing will ever happen, but you know, it's never a good idea to go do something super scary for the first time with no like knowledge or practice. Like that just seems kind of stupid. Yeah. So yeah, I think she trusts me that I wouldn't do anything like that, and they've been, like I said, just the best. Always there every step of the way, and same with my twin brother and sister. They're always there. I feel like we were super close growing up, and yeah, it's been awesome to have them there the whole time.
That's a blessing, having a supportive family. Yeah. You know, I mean, when you have it, you don't really think that's normal, and then you start seeing that it may not be the norm with a lot of people. And that's great.
Definitely. I mean, it's easy to take things for granted and get in your own little zone, but it's like, just talking to them on the phone, staying up to date, and that, I don't know, that's just such an important thing in my life, is family and friends and relationships. So I know that you probably say the same thing. It's like such a key, like having that.
Well, that's what the older I get, the more I realize that like my supportive family is in some ways it's the exception to the rule. Yeah. And so it is a blessing. Can you talk about what you're planning for this year? Do you want to talk about it? Or
yeah, sure.
What's on the calendar?
I mentioned earlier I'm going to do a little bit more racing. I'm going up to Canada. There's a North American stop on the World Skyrunning Series in Crow's Nest Pass. Normally all that stuff's in Europe, and it's kind of the more technical, shorter distance kind of races. So somewhere between 30 kilometers and 50 kilometers is kind of like their sweet spot there, but they're in the mountains, technical, you're running on ridges and stuff. So there's a race in Canada. Going to be capping off the season at the Rut, which is in Big Sky.
Oh, yeah.
Do a little bit more racing in the middle there, but mixed in with mountain projects. Kind of have my eyes on going to explore the Gore Range a little bit.
What are you thinking about there?
Just no one's ever done the whole traverse on the peaks there, but it's quite a bit more gnarly in terms of loose rock, and it's more heads up. There's not a lot of beta on it, and I haven't really spent any time there. So it's similar to the LA Freeway, like a big ridge, super aesthetic, kind of long day up high. And there's a bunch of those in Colorado, like the Elks are super cool. There's some cool stuff down in the San Juans and yeah, kind of just looking at these traverses, but also do some stuff more on Longs Peak. Got a couple things I want to do up there. I've been working on the Longs Peak project this year, which is ascend the peak once every month via a different route every month.
Oh, cool.
So 12 ascents. I'll probably do it more in the summer just because it's easier to get up there. But I've done, I did it on the winter solstice in December, but then January and February. Mm-hmm. So I'll try to get up there this March and then kind of do it. It's a nice way to like see the peak and do it a bunch of different routes and spend a bunch of time up there. So it's cool to keep learning that mountain. And
definitely
there's a lot of routes, whereas you pick a different 14er in the state, and then you have like the standard way, and then there's just kind of like the little social trail up the backside, or like they're just less complex. Mm-hmm. Not to say that they aren't as cool, but Longs Peak's a super complex mountain. There's 50 plus routes kind of that are all like mid fifth class. You can do a bunch of variations before you even start to pull out the ropes and stuff. So that's what's exciting.
I feel like everybody I've had on this podcast who is, deep in the endurance world, they all say that Longs Peak is their favorite place.
Yeah, I mean,
you can just spend a lifetime exploring.
Yeah, it's absolutely spectacular. I mean, there's nothing else like it in Colorado in terms of a big east-facing, like kind of big wall, high altitude climbing. But then, like I was saying, the variety is insane. Just once you get past like the Keyhole route, I mean, there's lots of other kind of like fourth class hiking routes up to the top.
Yeah.
Even if you don't even go to the top, there's all these like kind of satellite peaks, all the buttresses that come off of Longs. Like those are just as fantastic as actually going to the summit of Longs, because you actually see the diamond, like from Mount Meeker or Lady Washington.
Yeah.
You're staring right at Longs, and you actually can feel it. It's like, it's imposing in its nature. It's like where you're on top, it's kind of like a big football field, and you can see all the other peaks, but you don't really feel its majesty. Where when you're on those other peaks, you're like, wow, that's like a massive mountain that's like, scraped by glaciers or whatnot, and it's seeing that is super powerful. So
that's really cool. What are you reading now? I think you and I, we kind of connected over social media, over books, I think. Yeah. So what are you reading now?
I always have like a couple things in the works.
That's what I do. I've always got like 3 or 4 going.
I'm reading this History of Texas book, and it's massive. I want to say, I don't even know how many pages it is, but it's probably 1,000. But it's called like The Big Wonderful Thing. The author is Stephen Harrington.
Oh, cool.
But it's like just sort of chronological about the history of Texas, but it's in a really kind of, it's almost like art when I'm flipping through it. There's like maps and like these little photos and stuff. It's super engaging. I'm not that far into it, but definitely a history nerd. And I almost always have something that's nonfiction and fiction at the same time.
Do you really?
So like I'm reading The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, which is a Michael Chabon book.
Okay.
I've read a couple books by him, and I think he's really awesome. But yeah, I always try to, I don't know. I really like fiction, but at the same time, I'm kind of a history.
That's how I am.
Yeah.
I need to read more fiction, and I say that. I think I've been saying that ever since I started this podcast.
Yeah. It's hard, because I feel like fiction, you really have to find that category of book that really works with you. Whereas like history, I could read anything. Like,
that's how I am.
But fiction, it's like a more like, it isn't really working for me. But when you find that right fiction book, you're like, you just flip through.
Have you read any Peter Heller?
No, I haven't.
He, I had him on the podcast recently. He wrote like The Dog Stars, The Painter, and that, like, I think he might be the only fiction I read in like 4 years,
really?
But I've read all of it.
That's good.
And I can't say, the only problem is the one that was kind of put him into the world of fiction writing is called The Dog Stars.
Okay.
And it's about this terrible flu that goes to the world and wrecks everybody. And it's based in Boulder.
Really?
So I'm like, oh no.
Dude, this guy.
Yeah. But I don't think it's going to turn into that quite yet.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. So when you think about, I've got questions at the end of the podcast I'd like to ask everybody. When you think about your favorite books about the West, are there any that come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with Blood and Thunder is probably my favorite book about the West.
Same.
It's absolutely fantastic. But the book that I probably have the biggest connection with that I really enjoyed was The Empire of the Summer Moon.
Yeah. That's down in your neck of the woods.
And so interesting kind of connection to that book is my dad's side of the family is like great distant relatives of the Parker clan.
Oh, really?
And Cynthia Ann Parker, and my middle name's Parker, so it's sort of a thing to that. And so,
wow,
yeah, so that book is just fascinating, and learning about the Comanches and Cynthia Ann and sort of the Parker clan and that relationship to my dad's side of the family. It's fascinating. So I love those like Native American Texas stories and just seeing how things were way back in the day, and it's having that family connection is interesting. And so I've always,
that's cool.
Having that, I feel like it's definitely led to just being really interested in sort of the Native American culture and just experiencing these places that you can go kind of see a look into the past that are in the U.S. And it's cool to have that little kind of connection. So,
that's very cool.
Yeah. It's kind of random, but
no,
like,
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That author was on Joe Rogan recently.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. And then Joe Rogan put Blood and Thunder on his Instagram.
Yeah, he's been hyping up. I think he even talked. Yeah, like you said, he talked about Empire of the Summer Moon. Like,
I think it leads to. I sent Hampton Sides a text when I saw that. I was like, "Hey, I don't know if you know who Joe Rogan is, but you're going to get a little bump in sales here." Do you watch many films, any movies? Anything? I mean, I guess you're kind of working in the biz of short films now.
It's funny, like we have a TV there, but I swear I've never even watched it once. Like,
I quit watching TV, man.
I don't. Like occasionally, like maybe I'll watch like a little thing with my girlfriend or not, but mostly I just like read, or in the evening I'll like look at Alpinist magazine or something, or most of the time I'll be like watching films that I'm about to create a music piece for. So I feel like I don't have that much brain power to extend it to like movies and TV, but I know that
that's wise.
There's a bunch of cool like documentaries and stuff that would definitely kind of enrich my perspectives in life. But
no, you're doing fine. Don't dilute your brain with that.
I feel like I have enough screen time, like the phone and like the computer. It is nice to like maybe limit the screens.
Do you limit your social media use? Like,
it's tough because like part of the athlete gig is like definitely posting the stories and the photos and the all that kind of stuff. And I don't really limit it. I just try not to like overdo it and spend too much time. But then like we were talking on social media, so you do form like these relationships online, or you see something you've never seen before, and like I wouldn't have saw that if I hadn't been on Instagram, which is like the biggest benefit for that stuff. But as soon as you start to like just scroll through like videos and stuff that mean nothing to you, then that's like, okay, this is enough. That's like kind of when you need to cut it.
Mindful with it. When you think about all the places you've been in the West, but then in Europe and all that, do you have a favorite spot?
For sure. Yeah.
What can you say it?
Yeah. I mean, Long's Peak's definitely my favorite spot. I mean, I love the Flatirons and Boulder, but if I had to pick one little alpine spot in the world, it's Long's Peak's definitely. No secret, everyone goes up there. Like, there's no reason to hide it. I think it's just a fantastic spot.
What's your favorite route right now? Like, if just one that you love doing?
It's tough because it's so season dependent, but like in the summer, Keeners, which kind of skirts the east face and goes to the summit that way, or north face in winter. I don't know. It's hard to pick a favorite route because it's always like you get up there, and depending on the conditions, it will definitely dictate how you get up, especially in the winter months. But in the summer, it's kind of just, I'll maybe do a bunch of different routes, or just kind of like do one route a week and then do something else. But it's kind of hard to pick one route.
So when you think about all the experiences you've had in the mountains and in music, I mean, this could very well be in music. Is there one experience that's kind of the most powerful? I mean, maybe it was the scary one you talked about, but is there like maybe when you finished one of these, when you accomplished one of these FKTs, or just a day you had in the mountains by yourself? I mean, is there a powerful experience you look back at as like, man, that's what it's all about?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the thing that comes to mind first is like the LA Freeway, just because it was kind of the first big thing that I had actually accomplished and like broke a record. That I look back as a very powerful experience, but I almost feel I draw more from just kind of random days out in the mountains where it's nothing spectacular happens. I don't go set a record or anything, but it's like maybe I enter the flow state, or it's just like I really appreciate having a healthy body and like being fortunate to have the opportunity to go outside. And it's like those things are they kind of sometimes just hit you when you're outside, and they could like almost like could bring you to tears. You just kind of get emotional about it, and you're like, wow, like I'm really lucky and fortunate to be here in this spot, like with my body fully intact. Like those are the kind of days where I like come back, I'm like just so stoked on life. Those are the moments I feel like we were saying earlier, help you sustain like throughout life. Whereas if you were just doing the records, like you're hungry for the records or something, you just, I don't know, it's just, you can't do that forever.
Yeah. I think having an attitude of gratitude is...
Yeah.
Man, I've never said that before, attitude of gratitude.
Just write that down.
Yeah, TM.
Don't forget that.
All right, so last question. When you thinking about everything you've learned in your quick 25 years, 25? 24.
Almost
20. Do you have any kind of parting wisdom for people listening to this? And like we were talking about before we started recording, I mean, the people who listen to this, it's the full range of people who just love life in the West.
Totally.
Whether it's athletes or ranchers or authors or artists. What do you have any words of wisdom, something you'd like to ask the people who are listening?
Yeah.
Anything come to mind?
I mean, I feel like the theme of what we've been talking a lot is this idea of practice, and it kind of goes into all professions in life, whether you're an artist or ranch, like you're keeping a ranch or whatnot. It's like this idea of always go back to your foundation of practice and never get too cocky about what you're doing is, I think, a good way to at least stay safe in the mountains is just kind of be aware of your skill set and never kind of be always sharpening your tools. So like I said at the beginning, as your body's this tool, it's like you're kind of always tinkering, you're always sharpening, your leg speed, all these other things about your body. Is I think if you stay zoned in on that, like you kind of always just trying to progress. And if you get lazy about it and you kind of just, I don't know, you could maybe get away with it for a while, but I think life and your activities will start to catch up with you. So yeah, just being true to yourself and always being reflective and being like, oh, is there more that I could be doing? Should I practice this more? Am I fully ready? Or maybe I need a couple more months to practice this route. Maybe I need, just never be too like don't be in a hurry, I guess. Is kind of just slow down and just practice and take time and enjoy the process. It's like those kind of all wrap up into this kind of theme of practice, I think. And it just blends into so many things, which is cool. Like the music, you just kind of have to always stay up with that stuff. So, yeah.
I think that's wise words, man. Well, thank you for taking the time. It's really fun.
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks,
Ed. Hey, it's Ed again. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast, and thanks for listening to that particular episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Before you go, I've got 3 quick things. Number 1, if you like the podcast, please do me a huge favor. Either pass it along to a friend who may be interested, share it on your social media, or go to iTunes and give it a 5-star review. All those things would mean a lot to me, and they would really help to spread the word about the podcast. Number 2, if you've listened to many of these episodes, you know that I love reading and I love talking about books. Every other month, I send out a quick email with a few books that I've recently read and highly recommend. The subjects are varied, but they're pretty much all nonfiction with an emphasis on history, biographies, adventure narratives, and topics related to the American West. There are no sales pitches for ranches, no spam, no other kind of nonsense, just books. So if you'd like to sign up for the list, head to Mountain and Prairie/reading, or just go to Mountain and Prairie and there's a massive tab at the top that says book recommendations. Click on it. There are a ton of good books that I've read. Some of the old email lists are on there. You can go crazy. There are a lot of books. And finally, if you know anyone I should interview for the podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. All my contact info is at mountainandprairie.com, and I'm on all the social media stuff, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. So feel free to reach out. I'd love to have some recommendations and suggestions of interesting people I should meet. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.